It's Friday, the 1st of December 2023. Welcome to the Fast 5 Business News by Fear and Greed, where we give you the top 5 business stories you need to know in just 5 minutes. I'm Michael Thompson, and good morning, Sean Aylmer.
Good morning, Michael.
Sean, 5 stories, 5 minutes. Let's go. Story number 1. The federal government released its annual climate change statement yesterday, and it calls to ban traditional car sales no later than 2040 and to remove residential gas connections.
Big ideas, might be good ideas depending on your perspective, but the government has rejected both. The report says overall emissions rose in the last financial year by 3.6 million tonnes, about 0.8%, to 467 million tonnes. Pollution from cars, utes and SUVs led the increase, as well as agriculture. Combined, they offset by 2 times the reductions delivered across the electricity sector, thanks in part to rapid rooftop solar installations. The numbers mean Australia's annual current emissions are still 116 million tonnes above the 2030 target. The government says that last week's decision to underwrite up to $60 billion in renewable energy projects means Australia will reduce emissions by 42% on 2005 levels this decade.
Clearly, though, Sean, we do have a very long way to go.
Yes, there was a lot of talk about it yesterday, but at the end of the day, there is a miles to go. Federal Climate Minister Chris Bowen said emissions projections are within striking distance of the government's target of 43% by 2030. Then he added that hitting the target requires a big lift in effort over the next 7 years. Sure does. The Climate Change Authority's annual progress report shows that Australia is falling behind. To achieve the 2030 target, Australia needs to decarbonise at an average annual rate of 17 million tonnes of carbon a year. But in the last financial year, emissions were rising, not falling.
Okay, moving on to story number 2 now. And the OECD has predicted that Australia won't need to lift interest rates any further, saying the economy is on track for a soft landing. That's got to be good news.
Good news if they're right. The Paris-based organisation forecasts growth of 1.9% this year, 1.4% next year. That's substantially slower than the Reserve Bank's recently upgraded 2% forecast. The OECD reckons interest rates in Australia should actually start falling from the middle of next year, saying that inflation will drop to the top of the Reserve Bank's 2 to 3% target band by early 2025. Meanwhile, Federal Treasurer Jim Chalmers, he came out yesterday and said the upcoming mid-year budget update will not be another surplus, as he flagged Labor was unlikely to expand cost of living relief for millions more Australians, despite a backbench push. There was also Bureau of Statistics numbers out. Approvals for new home loans are up 7.5%. Good news, but total approvals remain pretty low. Tough for the construction sector. There's also private investment figures out. Capital expenditure rose 0.6% in the September quarter. Solid without being great. Mostly that came from the mining sector.
Okay, story number 3. The past 3 months, Sean, we've noted that Commonwealth Bank's mortgage book has been shrinking as it shied away from competing too aggressively. Well, in the 4th month, the drought has broken and CBA's mortgage book actually grew.
Hallelujah. Commonwealth Bank is the market leader, so what it does affects everyone else, including we people with home loans. A 3-month losing streak at the bank hadn't been recorded in at least 2 decades. In October, though, CommBank targeted customers directly through its digital channels. It also pushed Bankwest loans more aggressively through its mortgage brokers. It finished the month with its total lending book higher, about $60 million higher, at $542.28 billion. The great thing about that is it puts more competition in the home lending market, and customers should be the winners.
Story number 4, there's a crisis, Sean, in the cash industry. Cash transport firm Aylmer is looking for funding to remain profitable just 5 months after it merged with rival Prosegur to create a near monopoly.
As the banks push customers towards digital payments and cash use declines, Aylmer is making heavy losses. The percentage of payments in cash has plunged from 62% in 2010 to 13% in 2021 and is expected to continue to fall. This has pushed up the unit cost of delivering banknotes to bank branches and retailers in fleets of trucks, according to a report in the Fin Review. Now, the decline in cash payments has come despite the value of banknotes in circulation hitting records last year. People must be hiding it under their mattress or something like that. The merger between Aylmer and Spain's Prosegur, approved by the ACCC despite creating a company with a 90% share of the cash distribution market, was supposed to relieve financial pressure on Aylmer. It hasn't.
All right, last one. Story number 5. Sean, one of the world's greatest diplomats, American Henry Kissinger, has died at the age of 100 at his home in Connecticut.
He was a controversial Nobel Peace Prize winner who served under 2 presidents and left a mark on US foreign policy. Kissinger had been active past his centenary, attending meetings at the White House, publishing a book on leadership styles, testifying before a Senate committee about the nuclear threat posed by North Korea. In fact, in July this year, he made a surprise visit to Beijing to meet President Xi Jinping. According to Reuters, in the 1970s, he had a hand in many of the epoch-changing global events of the decade while serving as US Secretary of State under Republican President Richard Nixon. His efforts led to the diplomatic opening of China, landmark US-Soviet arms control talks, expanded ties between Israel and its Arab nations, and the Paris Peace Accords with North Vietnam.
Yeah, quite the career, wasn't it? All right, there we go. The top 5 business stories in 5 minutes. Thank you, Sean.
Thank you, Michael.
It is Friday, the 1st of December 2023. Remember to hit follow on the podcast. If 5 minutes isn't enough, you can find our longer daily show called Fear and Greed Business News wherever you listen to podcasts. I'm Michael Thompson, and that was the Fast 5 Business News by Fear and Greed. Have a great day.